Southeast key stakeholders are beginning to weigh in on President Tinubu's tax reform bills following the decision of the Southeast caucus in the Senate. The leader of the Southeast Senate caucus, Senator Einaya Abaribe Abga, Abia South, earlier in the week at a press briefing at a closed-door meeting of senators from the 5 southeastern states, called for broader consultations on the tax reform bill submitted to the National Assembly by President Bola Tinubu. Abaribe said the Southeast senators are not opposed to the bills, but are advocating for extensive consultations with their constituents and key stakeholders before a final decision is made in both chambers of the National Assembly.
The decision of the Southeast caucus is that as much as we are not against the bill, that we would also have to do further consultations with our different constituencies and the state governments. And we think that the result of those consultations will lead to a better bill being passed and a much more equitable framework for finances in this country.
Joining us now to discuss the stance of the Southeast in the controversial tax reform bills of President Tinubu is Dr. George Agbakahi, Southeast leader, Tinubu Support Organization, and member of the defunct APC Presidential Campaign Council, Media and Publicity Directorate. Good morning, Dr. Agbakahi, and thanks for joining us again on the morning show.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Abati, Rufai, and Ayo. I appreciate.
Well, Dr. Agbakahi, thank you for joining us. Well, I assume straight up that you are going to support the bills. I mean, you can't be a Southeast leader for the Tinubu Support Organization and you criticize bills proposed by the president. But there seems to be a universal... doesn't that make sense? It sounds logical, doesn't it? So there's universal consensus that we need tax reform, right? What people do not agree upon is the issue of equity, fairness, and justice. Even the Revenue Mobilization RMA FAC body of government is disagreeing with the Tax and Fiscal Policy Committee as to the constitutionality of the bills and whether the bills will guarantee fairness and all of that. But we seem to have a general agreement that yes, more consultations should be done. But what are your specific concerns about the excitement, the concerns that these 4 bills have generated, both at the level of the National Assembly and in the general community?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much again for having me. You see, since independence, we've always had a problematic and complex tax system. I believe the tax reform bill that is currently in the National Assembly has been a topic of intense conversation in the past couple of months. And it has, in fact, tried to generate, a lot of divisions, in the country. Like I said, since independence, it's been very problematic. The tax system is seen as very complex, very sensitive. There has been widespread evasion, of taxes in the country. Now, excuse me. I believe it is a pretty good, tax reform bill that is currently in the House. We have to look at this holistically. How did we come, to this point in respect of our taxation? According to, the Nigerian Governors Forum, only about 81% of Nigerians pay taxes, and even according to FRS, I think in 2021 or 2022, only 41 million Nigerians, paid their taxes out of out of a population of about 220, people. I think something is wrong somewhere. In that same 2022, according to FIRS, we're able to generate through tax revenue about 10.1 billion naira, 10.1 trillion naira, which if you try to convert it in dollar terms is about 654, billion. But look at other countries that are in the same category with us. For example, Kenya, even though we have a better economy than them, they generate $16.39 billion in taxes. Egypt generates about 53 or 55 billion. And South Africa, which has kind of become the economic powerhouse in Africa, generates $1.7 trillion in taxes. So something is wrong somewhere. That's why I believe the president, which we know is pretty idealistic individual, he has thought through this and found out that there has to be a paradigm shift in respect of the way we do things in taxation. That's why he's been able to propose this taxes to the National Assembly. And I believe in the long run, it has a lot to do both for businesses, small businesses. The tax system is equitable. The tax system is progressive. The tax system, it has a lot of goodies for the generality of Nigerians.
Dr. Agbakahi.
And particularly the Southeast.
Yeah, now that's where I'm going to. You are one voice in the Southeast, you're a Southeast leader. But the Southeast caucus, like I read earlier, of the Senate, have said that they want wider consultation. So they are towing the same line as the Northern Governors Forum, the Northeast, North Central, and the northern part of Nigeria. There are general thoughts towards the tax reform bill. So how would you go about convincing them, especially what is in need specifically for the Southeast? I think that's very important for us today. So beyond the wider general benefits of the tax reform, which Mr. Oyedele has done a very good job of enunciating, what is the specific benefits for the Southeast? How would it work better for the Southeastern states?
Well, first of all, this tax provides opportunity, for lower income earners in Nigeria to pay a lower tax as opposed to what we are having now. In Nigeria, the very wealthy are not paying their own fair share of the taxes. But specifically for the Southeast, in the Southeast, trading and commerce are truly the nomenclature of the Southeast. And this particular, tax system that is being proposed, it aims to support, local businesses. You understand? In the Southeast, if you go to Aba, you go to Onitsha, there is nothing they do not produce. So this particular tax bill, it will give tax breaks to all these individuals in the small businesses, micro and medium-sized enterprises, and it will therefore benefit Southeast. They will now have to reinvest, the money that will come out of this into the system, which will even at the same time provide employment opportunities, for Nigerians. So that is what is happening. I quite understand, the postulation of Senator Enyinia Baribe, a great Igbo man. It's good for them to, discuss with their various constituents. That's the beauty of democracy, But mind you, he also said that they are leaning towards supporting this tax bill. That's what he said. In the Southeast in particular, there are a lot of small and medium enterprises, apart from Lagos State, You know, another place you have huge numbers of these enterprises are in the southeast. You know, so a lot will come out of these classes in the southeast, and it will help people improve their living standards. You know, that's the point. A lot is happening. For example, if you look at the tax band that is being proposed, you know, between 7% and 4%, depending on the individual's, you know, threshold, you know, people that are making 50 million naira per year may not have to pay personal, you know, income taxes. You know, the same thing is related to company income tax. People that are depending on your own level or your own, you know, threshold. If you're making between 50, if a company is making between 50 million and 100 million, you know, your tax will be reduced. So I think it's a pretty good development for Southeast, considering the fact that we are...
Mr. Agbakahi.
Yes.
I mean, I get you. You and I are on the same page as regards that, but there's a lot of misinformation you're making I just need to correct. You said South Africa collected $1.6 trillion in taxes. No. The money is about 94 billion. The year you were quoting was about 1.6 trillion rand. There are other, you know, misinformation you spilled that you said Nigerian's tax in dollars was going to about something billion. No, it's wrong. Maybe you got your numbers wrong, and you were talking about the small business taxes.
No.
What I
said about Nigeria, I said 6.459 billion.
No, you said 600.
I didn't say 600. And...
No, they can play back the tape. I heard all this thing.
No, that's not what I said.
I won't just correct you. Okay. You can fact check me. They can play back the tape.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It could be that I misspoke. It could be that I misspoke.
Maybe you misspoke. So, you know, when you're wrong, because it's also misinformation that is going on. And also, you said we're talking about income tax threshold. But I get your heart as regards this. I mean, I'm very with you on this. So we're on the same page. So no need for haggling. I just had to correct those misinformation. Real quickly, the part I want to talk to you about are two parts. Number one will be the back and forth as regards collections in PIA, you know, that people or, you know, royalties for collection of the oil sector. And I say this because there are some oil wells that also applies in the southeast, you get. But there's a dichotomy as regards collection, you know, with the petroleum, PIA bill and the FIRS, where they have two differences as regards that. Another part I want to talk about is this case of third party, that third party can actually collect. Those are some sticking points in the bill a lot of people are talking about. I mean, what do you have to say as regards that, you know, these two areas?
Yeah, the issue you mentioned in terms of the oil wells, you know, they are very pertinent issues, you know. So I believe is an issue that the National Assembly will also have to look into and resolve it amicably. You know, the tax reform bill is a good one, you know, but let them look at it. If there are some gray areas, like you just pointed out, you know, they have the capacity, you know, to work on it, you know, and get back to the Nigerian people and to the executive. You know, that's why we are in a democracy, you know, but just generally speaking, you know, the tax reform bill is pretty comprehensive, you know, millions of Nigerians do not pay taxes. Go to Wuse Market, go to Alaba, go to Ladipo, go to Onitsha Market, go to Ariaria Market in Aba. We have billionaires in all these markets. You know, they do not pay their own fair share of taxes. You know, I believe this particular tax reform bill, it will be comprehensive enough that they will be able to, you know, get taxes from all these individuals. And that would help, you know, raise revenue for this great country. The amount of money that is being collected so far as revenue in form of taxes is very minute.
Dr. Agbakahi.
It's very minute.
Dr. Agbakahi, the section that Rufai was referring to, that would be clauses 74 to 87. about oil and gas royalties collection. We create some kind of conflict between the provisions in the new tax administration bill, new tax administration bill, and the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act with regard to oil and gas royalties and whether it should be the FIRS or the NUPRC, the Upstream Regulatory Commission, that should collect. Anyway, that matter is in the public domain. But I would like to draw your attention to some other clauses. Clause 74, for example, gives the President of Nigeria the power to order, repeal, or amend any tax exemptions. Now, don't you think that's like, giving the President absolute powers over, this new tax regime that is being proposed in a country where we have seen in the past that people used to make laws in this country to serve personal interests or sectional interests. Do you think that writing the president into the bill is like giving the president extraordinary powers? And then you said it will reduce taxation for some people. Well, yes, for people within a certain threshold. But VAT is the problem. The VAT is increased from 7.5% to 10%. Some people are saying, look, even in real terms, that will amount to people paying more, willingly or unwillingly. Now, but what do you think about that clause 74? You've said the National Assembly can look at clauses 74 to 87. However, should the president be given near absolute powers over the taxation regime in the country?
Well, like the presidency is like a continuum. President Tinubu will not be there forever. So this particular section 74 is not a law that is being made for the president. Mind you, there will be subsequent presidents, probably as from 2031, that will also manage the affairs of this country. So I don't really think that is giving
You've given President Tinubu automatically 2 terms. You didn't say 2027. You said 2031. You see? I told you.
No, I said
until
2031.
Yeah, I know. But the suggestion is very clear.
So what I'm saying is that, I don't think it's giving the president absolute power. Most of the people that are given a break in this particular tax reform are less privileged ones. Those are the people that are benefiting tremendously. And I think it's a step in the right direction. And that will help improve the living standard, of the less privileged people, in conjunction with some of the other reforms, that the president has put in place. I think with time, things will start working in this country, especially when you take into consideration the expansion of the GDP. Was it not a couple of weeks ago, to, I think by 3.4%. It's a step in the right direction. Things are moving steadily, considerably, and I believe things will get better.
Okay, so let's get back to the crux of the matter from the Southeast Caucus, which is, they're not saying they're against it, which you've also agreed, but what they're saying is more time for wider consultation, the same stance that some of the caucuses have highlighted. Do you agree with this? In the event, what's the rush? A number of people have asked the question, what is the rush? If people say they want wider consultation, why not just consult wider so that we are able to get people's buy-in and then, pass the bill? Why the rush? Do you agree with that let's have a bit more time for wider consultation, or we should just go ahead and bring it to the floor and pass?
Well, this is a, Christmas season where most Southeasterners, parley with their people. So if the Southeast senators say they want to go and reach out to their constituents in respect of this, tax reform bill, so as to make a decision, I think it's a step in the right direction. But mind you, they have said it earlier I heard Senator Enyinia Bariba say it, that they're leaning towards supporting it. And I've marshaled as certain variables that would tend to believe that it will benefit Southeast businesses. And that is the truth.
Okay. Have you read the tax bill? Have you taken out time to read the tax bill? I want you, if you have, I want you you've not read the tax bill. You've not read it.
No, I've gone through it.
But
I've not read it totally, but
I've not read it totally.
I've glanced through it. Yeah.
Okay, when you were going through it, did you see any parts that you were not comfortable with that you would like to talk about? Any parts that you were not comfortable with? I mean, when you were going through it.
Well, the ones I've gone through, pretty much I like most of it. Like I said, it's a tax bill, in my view, that will benefit majority of Nigerians, particularly, the low-income earners, as opposed to what we currently have that doesn't benefit them much, but benefit only the wealthy. This tax bill is pretty similar to the democratic tax bill in the U.S., whereby the pretty wealthy are taxed much more than, the low-income earners.
It's
a step in the right direction, personally.
I deliberately asked that question. So, if you say everything you have read, you're comfortable with it, so why are we in line with Dr. Enyinia Bariba that is saying that we should still give time for wider consultation? Since you said you've read everything and you've gone through everything and you are comfortable with everything, why don't you just say we should pass it tomorrow?
No. Personally, on a personal note, I am pretty in support of the bill. But I'm just saying that as senators, probably there are certain intelligence that they already have that I do not have. So it was based on that I'm saying that if they believe that it is in the best interest, their best interest as well as the best interest of their constituents, that they should go and reach out to them. That is not a bad idea. Reaching out to them will not take pretty long, probably in the next 1, 2, 3 weeks, and that will be done.
Okay, Dr. Agbakahi, thank you very much. The National Assembly has said there will be public hearings. Let's just hope that the public hearings will be conducted with integrity and transparency and accountability, and that these 4 tax bills will not end up like the PIA that took over 20 years or thereabouts before it was decided upon. But thank you very much for joining us.